Well, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. It's wonderful being here, especially speaking about something that I'm so passionate about and also did a lot of research for. So I will be sharing some slides. So let me just get this started. Alrighty, so just first before I start, I kind of want to explain how I got to this issue and tried to create a research project in the first place. And so I'm a part of Barrett, the Honors College at ASU, and so through the Honors College, we're responsible for spearheading a honors thesis project or research project. And so I decided I wanted to do mine in sustainability education, especially something that involves energy transitions, equitable energy transitions. That was what I was interested then and am still interested in now. And so I landed on this project that I collaborated with one of my professors, Dr. Michelle Jordan, and she, we'll find out a little bit later, but she's a part of this program called the SPV Lab, or the Sorin Photovoltaic Lab. And through this lab, I was able to collaborate with the students right across from the community garden that we were working at. And so that's kind of how this collaboration started. And yeah, we landed on this topic of co-designing sustainability learning innovations to support youth to engage in real work with real consequences. And on the left here is the Spaces of Opportunity community garden that is located in South Phoenix. And so it's more of a lower income heavily minority area. And so this community garden, actually a little bit of background, it used to be an empty lot. A lot of the time there was litter or just garbage, not so not so good trash, I guess you could say there, and it just wasn't really a good spot. And so the Tiger Mountain Foundation, they're one of the community organizations in Phoenix. They came in and they established this community garden, and so that's the community garden that is now the Space of Opportunity, where you're able to rent your own plots and plant a lot of produce throughout the year as long as you pay a monthly fee. So that's a little bit of background about the community garden I was working for. This is kind of the overview of the presentation. I know it's supposed to be maybe like 25, 30 minutes, so hopefully I can keep it to that time limit. But first we're going to talk about agrivoltaics, just in case those aren't very familiar with it. Then we'll go into the co-design process, what that really is, along with SPV Lab. This is also split into two parts. And so the first part is talking more about my personal experiences working with the students and working and some of the things that we created together. And then the second part of the research is more about the co-design process, working with a high school student, and that involves a typical research method with the methods, analysis, results, and last but not least, the discussion. Then the last part is about the conclusion and trying to piece those two together and kind of see what future directions this could take. So what is agrivoltaics? Agrivoltaics it's like a socio-technical innovation, establishing a mixed energy source with the solar panels located above agricultural crops or livestock and even pollination areas. And so this technology, it saves water, it creates a very sustainable food system, and it also generates electricity. So a lot of benefits from this type of system that we have here. And most of all, it relies on community support and implementation. Without support from the community, it's really hard to maintain this sort of system just because it relies on individuals from needing to constantly tend the garden. Also, the solar panels need to be cleaned at times. And so it's a very hands-on community approach to generating energy and electricity and also being able to create food. And this picture on the right is of Jack's solar farm, and I haven't been able to visit it yet, but it is the largest agrivoltaics research site in the United States. And so they kind of started the movement, the agrivoltaics farming movement, and they kind of showcase that even larger farms can use this agrivoltaic system to support their processes, and also they also like to host community events there, and sometimes they have farmers markets there. And so just a really great farm that Jack, the guy, created, and represents the benefits of agrivoltaics. So this is just a little bit more about agrivoltaics, what it actually entails, what are some of the more specific benefits, but it's a very symbiotic mutualism environment, and so both the solar panels and the produce underneath are being benefited from this type of interaction. Most of all, the solar panels, they generate electricity from the sunlight, and then second, in the agricultural sector, in order to create food, obviously you need sunlight, and so um, the solar panels are able to create shade for the plants or produce or pollination areas that are underneath. And then in turn, I guess the produce, it can be damaged by direct sunlight. And so this really supports the produce that's underneath because it is creating that shade. And then solar panels can also become inefficient when it becomes really hot, especially in places like Arizona. If the temperature is above 75 degrees Fahrenheit, it can make the process of creating that energy less efficient. And so what's great about the agrivoltaic system is that by planting the plants underneath, it is able to cool the air through the process of transpiration, and it's able to cool the entire environment. So the solar panels become more efficient in that sense. And then it can also trap humidity by having the solar panels on top. And so by keeping the humidity in, not only do the plants need that to grow, but it also reduces the temperature underneath the area. And so just a lot of great working pieces that come from this type of system. And I'm not going to talk a lot more about the benefits of agrivoltaics, but that's kind of the overall overview of what agrivoltaics is and what its benefits are. So next, what is SPV Lab? SPV Lab is a network of K through 12 students, teachers, scientists, community leaders, members to support a sustainable energy transition, especially through solar and agrivoltaic projects in an educational environment. And so this is also based in Arizona just in the Arizona region. And right here, I included a map of what kind of schools we have in the area, and I'm just going to exit out of the presentation here and show you. Um, Here is the Google Earth map, and so we're able to see what kind of schools are in the area. All of them are connected to ASU just because they get their resources, and I guess they're the individuals to help them out, like me, who are able to go to their schools. Then we also have some in the Tucson area, and they're just scattered around. We also work with the biosphere too, and so that's a really great place that students can go to, and also for us to go to learn from scientists that are proving the benefits of agrivoltaic systems. And so I kind of just want to show this map here, especially for those not in the Phoenix, Arizona right now. So next, speaking about the co-design and citizen science process, the co-design process, it's probably the most important part of this research project, and it refers to that participatory approach for designing solutions, talking about different ideas, where the community members and community leaders and the students can both work collaboratively in this design process. Typically, in some other I guess in a normal educational setting, there's that kind of hierarchy where the teacher kind of teaches the students about certain things, but co-design process kind of restructures that to where they are both equal collaborators, especially when working on scientific projects or projects that require more support from those in a leadership position. And then going into the citizen science process, I guess the word citizen science will be used throughout this presentation. It's the collaboration between students and scientists, and they're able to participate in scientific research. And so students are able to see themselves as scientists and see themselves as making contributions to the greater scientific community. This is really important because by allowing these students to feel like they're scientists, it really encourages them to believe that their work is important. And they do this by asking questions about agrivoltaics, collecting and processing data, interpreting the results of what they find from using this agrivoltaic system. So we really encourage students to be citizen scientists as members of SPV Lab. So next we have the SPV Lab network, and because we're based in Arizona, and we have 17 schools in our network, we are kind of a larger community, and we're able to showcase all of our successes and some of our challenges through the Journey.do collaboration. And Journey.do, it's an online platform where the teachers and scientists and community leaders are able to post about their successes or things going on in their community, and students are able to see that their work is visible across the entire SPV Lab network. And so we like to post certain things about the students' successes. Like on the top right photo, I posted in February about the harvesting that we were going to be doing with the students. And then right below that, we also posted some podcasts that these students created about their agrivoltaic experience. And so just a great way for students to see their work being seen by others. And that's another really important part of this presentation is the visibility of the students' work and how that visibility can help them believe that their work is important. So next we go into my personal experiences with SPV Lab, especially with my collaboration with VH Lassen, which is the elementary and middle school that I worked with. And so my collaboration with SPV Lab, one, I created relationships with the students at the elementary school through weekly visits. I keep on calling it an elementary school, but they also have a middle school attached to it, and I worked with their 7th grade students. And so I went there weekly, speaking to the students and also teaching them about agrivoltaics. And we also co-designed the agrivoltaics garden that they have in behind their school classroom. And then we also did different workshops, and I just worked with them very consistently. And also these 7th grade students participated in the construction of the garden beds, the data collection, which was really important, and other activities like I mentioned before. We recorded a podcast with the students to show their experiences. And then last but not least, the students participated in different sustainability focused workshops. We specifically did one about water conservation, and then we did another about the importance of energy transitions and renewable energy. So the students, they were responsible for collecting data and doing other activities that required that data collection. And so first, the students helped plant the seeds, they helped water the garden, and they helped harvest the plants. And it's really exciting to see the students because most of the time they always ask like, hey, can we go outside today? Or hey, are we going out in the garden? And usually we're collecting data, but sometimes we're planting the seeds. And I think 2 months ago we planted strawberry seeds and strawberry plants, and they're doing pretty well. And the students were excited to see that their plants were growing. And so next, they also recorded the temperature, the pH, the soil moisture, and light content of the plants that were under their agrivoltaic garden, and also those in the control bed without the agrivoltaic system. And so they were able to see the difference of plants grown underneath the agrivoltaics garden as well as the one in their control bed. And then students, they actually created lab reports and they filled out different Google Sheets kind of their findings and also of the differences between these two plants and the way that they were measured. And these findings were shared throughout the SPV Lab network, mostly on Journey.do in the online platform. So next was the SPV Lab podcast that we were able to create. I designed some interactive podcast materials like do's and don'ts for the students, also kind of an organized list of things that the students should I guess prompts that the students should use to encourage them to say certain things about their garden or about their experiences with working with agrivoltaics. And so the students introduced themselves and their experiences, and this podcast was shared throughout the entire SPV Lab network. We're actually going to listen to it now.
I don't hear anything on my end. Do others?
Can you guys hear?
No, I think you might have to share sound or something.
Okay.
Maybe
Let's
stop
see.
sharing and then reshare and check on the share sound tab if it's checked.
Um, okay. Let me, is that, you guys can hear
Yeah,
that?
so there's a tricky kind of a button when you go to share screen. And so
Yeah.
I'm not sure, do you
Oh,
know?
share sound. Yes, I found it. Okay, thank you. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear it now.
I'm
Yes, yes.
Giselle, and I'm a member of SPV Lab from VH Lassen.
Hi, my name is Lisette, and I go to Lassen.
Hi, my name is Jotwan.
Hi, I'm Malaysia from VH Lassen.
I'm Alan and a member of SPV Lab.
I'm Natalia from VH Lassen and a member of the SPV Lab.
At our SPV Lab research site, we are planting our own plants and we get to water them and we get to give back to the community. I think that our plants are doing good and I can tell that they're growing really nice and tall. My favorite part about the SPV Lab is that we get to watch our own plants grow and we get to water them every day and take care of them. Some of the resources we need are more seeds so we can have more plants to give back.
The garden sets a great example for our school.
So I won't play all of it, but that's just kind of a portion of what it is. Okay. You guys can still hear me, right? Okay, cool. Um, so yeah, that was the podcast that we were able to create students to introduce themselves and explain their experiences. So it was really nice hearing what they had to say, and especially because they haven't had that experience before, where they're able to showcase what their experiences were and kind of explain how they felt about those experiences. So this was a really great way for them to do that. And then next, we also hosted SPV Lab workshops, as I was telling you guys before. And these workshops I created with Lila, a high school student that I was working with. And she's one of our SPV Lab partners, but through her collaboration, we were able to co-create these different workshop materials. We designed an interactive map and a workshop booklet. The map we can see in the bottom right here, and then the map, the interactive the booklet, we can see the left photo on the top. And so these students, they were able to kind of write down what their thoughts were throughout the tour that we were giving them of the community garden. And then they also were given stickers of SPV Lab and the different plants that we harvested. And we were able to host 2 successful workshops. We wanted to host more, but there's some barriers that come with working with a high school student that you can only meet with some at some specific times, as well as just the semester gets busy, and so unfortunately we were only able to host 2, but still 2 was pretty great. So next, diving into my research on the co-design process with SPV Lab, and this is more of the qualitative research part of the study, working with Lila and also working with another SPV Lab teacher. And so this one's probably one of the wordier slides that we have, but these theoretical frameworks really informed the co-design processes that I had with Lila and also the students and the SPV Lab teacher that I worked with. And so these are the 3 theoretical frameworks: the real work, real consequences, action-oriented pedagogies, and visibility, believability, and meaningfulness. So all these are directly or indirectly related with one another. And I'll start with the very left, which is the real work, real consequences. And this is the collaborative work between students and teachers for those students to feel empowered. And students feel more empowered when they're able to tackle these real work issues that have real consequences. And so the teachers have that responsibility to work with students to increase these moments of feeling like they are completing real work that has real consequences. And so in order to help students to feel like they are completing real work, we're able to use the action-oriented pedagogies to support them. And so these action-oriented pedagogies meaning a method of teaching, informs the students about, I guess teachers use this as a tool to support these students' learning and increase of knowledge to to help them realize that their real work is important to sustainability. And also it enables students to learn that they are both learners and contributors in this process, kind of going back to the citizen science portion where students actually believe in the work that they're doing because they are completing real work in especially a scientific environment. And this also gives them hope that they can take responsibility for their studies in sustainability, which is more of an interdisciplinary field. And so teachers should try to use this pedagogy in order to influence the work that the students are doing to help them realize that their work is real. And then last but not least, VBM, or visibility, believability, meaningfulness, is the experience that we want students to have and teachers to facilitate that experience. And so we want students to feel more comfortable visibly showcasing their work to others. We want them to believe in themselves and the work that they're doing, and also feel that their contribution is meaningful to the scientific community. And so by connecting teachers with the action-oriented pedagogy, we're able to it'll be a catalyst to have more VBM moments in schools for teachers to facilitate, and then for students to encourage those experiences. So those are how those three kind of tie in together. It's a little bit wordy, but these helped me create and pinpoint my research questions that I addressed, and the first one being, how might we design systems to support youth sustainability activists in co-designing in intergenerational teams? So a big emphasis on the intergenerational teams here and how we can encourage also members of the community to support them. And then my second research question, how might co-designing sustainability learning innovations support youth in engaging in real work with real consequences? So what are my methods of doing this, and what are my data collection methods? And so one, we hosted some semi-structured interviews with Lila and another SPV Lab teacher. We were able to speak to them about their experiences, and these were all recorded and they were coded, as we'll see in the next slide. But we also got some 7 audio video recorded co-design sessions. So these were work sessions that I had with Lila that we hosted together to create some of these workshops, etc. And then I also have some of my own field notes and then artifacts that we created based off of the collaboration I had with Lila. And so, looking at my VBM code from an analytic lens, I decided to, going back to these frameworks, I decided to really pinpoint the visibility, believability, and meaningfulness, because I wanted to see if Lila felt or if by working with Lila, we were able to increase the moments of VBM that we had. And so by looking at this code from analytic lens, Harris et al. Kind of helped us create this code, and through this code, we were able to explicitly separate visibility, believability, and meaningfulness, and we were able to code these during the interviews and the recorded meetings. And so first, visibility, it asks the question, do they see that their work will be used by others? And so do they see that their work will be visible to the outside community? And other questions that might be asked are like, what happens as a result of their work? And is the end data compelling? Can they use this in other real work situations? So that was what we coded for visibility. For believability, it's if we asked the question if teachers believe that their data will be incorporated into decision making, especially with scientific decisions. And a big question that we asked when we were coding was, do they believe that their work will be used by others? Another question we asked are if they actually believe that they're doing real work. And so we tried to ask these questions to code some of the meetings and interviews that we had with Lila. And then last but not least, meaningfulness. Do the youth see themselves as contributors to science and participating in science? And so a big question we asked was, do they care that their work will be used by others? And so I guess, do they see that their work is important? Do they see that their contribution is meaningful to themselves and the greater community? And so these were some of the questions that we asked in order to code for these VBM moments. And of course, this is qualitative research, so I just want to put the disclaimer out there that yes, I did go through and work with my professor, but qualitative research is hard and it's not very specific, and it's not like quantitative research where you're able to collect data and you have an answer right away. But so through coding, we found some consistencies in the data with visibility, especially with partnerships, believability in their work, and then last but not least, meaningfulness in a real world impact. So here were some of my findings. One, again, the research question, how might we design systems to support youth sustainability activists in co-designing intergenerational teams? So one, I found that the greater visibility supports both the community and the youth leader. And so when there was more visibility of the work that especially Lila was doing, this allowed for more support from the public. And I actually want to read a quote that she mentioned. She stated that it was a really, really good opportunity for Growing Green, which is her organization, for Growing Green and myself to expand our reach to others and learn from different people and see what the community really needs and wants. And so she found out that by collaborating with the community, or by having greater visibility, she was able to collaborate more with the community, and also she was able to be a leader trying to provide the community what they actually need, versus sometimes we give communities something that they don't need and something that they didn't ask for, and so that kind of eliminated that. Next, we found that an increased believability among youth work led to greater external partnerships. And so when the community believes in the work that these students are doing, this increases partnerships. And in this case, Lila was actually able to get solar panels donated to her cause. And so the solar panel that we see in this photo on the right actually was donated by a community partner who puts up solar panels in the community, as well as the structure of the agrivoltaic system was donated by the Desert Botanical Garden, which is one of the main gardens in herpetological areas in Arizona, which is really great for Lila to partner with them. And then last but not least, greater real world impact leads to the work becoming more meaningful. And so by having more meaningful, I guess by recognizing the importance of her work, Lila was able to not only address the needs of the community, but it also made her realize that her work was very important. And so one quote I did want to point out that Lila did mention was, I see all the work they do within their own organizations for the community, like providing more green spaces and healthy food, and it has really motivated me to continue these projects and help them make a larger impact. So it's been really good to make a change. And keep in mind, Lila's only 17 years old, I believe, and so for her to work with an organization and also see the real impact that her organization and others are having on the community really helped her realize that yes, her work is meaningful and she should continue doing the work that she's doing. And so my findings for research question 2, again, the question is, how might we design, or how might co-designing sustainability learning innovations support youth in engaging in real work with real consequences? So first thing I found was that projects with higher visibility are more meaningful. And this does not mean that if a project is not visible to the community, it's not meaningful, but we just found that there was a correlation between the two. And so it led to especially when speaking with the SPV Lab teacher that I worked with, when speaking about the students and how they perceived themselves as learners in the community, she said that because the garden is very close to the classroom, the students are really able to see that their work is important and they have more pride in the work that they're doing and the plants that they're growing, etc. And so by having that work more visible, they were able to see that their own work is more meaningful. And for the second point, if there's a greater presentation of data, this resulted in an increased believability of the work. And so students are more likely to believe that their work will be used by others if their data is used by other individuals. And so one quote I like to share from this is Lila's work was actually published with SPV Lab in a research journal, and so this led to her believing in her work more. And when she found out that the research paper got posted or that it got accepted, she said, "quote I just got word from the PVSC paper." Actually, no, she didn't say this. I apologize. My professor was telling her that my professor said, I just got word that the PVSC paper also got accepted, so we'll need to update our data. And Lila, the student, said, wow, that's so great. That's so awesome. And she was very visibly excited. She mentioned how it would be really cool to publish a research paper. So by working with SPV Lab, she was able to get a research journal accepted, and she just was really excited about that and believed in her work more. And last but not least, when others are motivated by the work that they're doing, the work becomes more meaningful. And so Lila shared a story about how her friends were starting to get into the sustainability environments or just trying to pursue their own passions because of what Lila was doing. And so because Lila saw that her friends were encouraged by what she was doing, she knew that this work was really meaningful to her, and also it had a greater impact on the outside community. And so this just goes to show how the work that Lila's doing is pretty incredible. And also by connecting the younger students with the work that Lila's doing, hopefully the students can make that connection that, hey, if a high school student a couple years older than me is doing this, I can also do this too. And so next, this leads us to our study discussion. By using the visibility, believability, and meaningfulness, this really allows teachers and other partners to think of their actions for supporting students and their learning. And a couple pointers that I wanted to make was that having an increased involvement in these activities enables individuals to have more moments of visibility, believability, and meaningfulness. And so, especially when a student like Lila is more involved in the community, this really allowed her to have greater moments of VBM compared to the other middle school students that I was working with. They aren't as involved. And I only see them once a week. And so, by having an increased involvement, we could probably have greater moments of VBM. And next, VBM heavily relies on the facilitator and also external partners like myself for their complete success. When working with the students, one of the teachers mentioned how none of the, not none, but some of the higher faculty in the school weren't aware of the work that the students were doing. And so if other community leaders and school administrators aren't aware of what the students are doing, this kind of shows that their work is not visible. And so if we're able to increase that visibility, then hopefully this will increase the believability and meaningfulness of the work that the students are doing for the students themselves. And the next point I want to make is that greater instances of VBM in routine activities can also play a role in more agentive action, whether that's in the classroom, outside the classroom, in other community settings. If we're able to show that the work that the students are doing is more visible in a normal setting, their work is believable and it's more meaningful, then students will most likely believe that their work is real. And last but not least, which is probably the most important point, but co-designing with students greatly enhances these VBM moments. So by working with Lila, I was able to, I guess we were able to increase the level of visibility that her work got, along with the level of believability she had in her own work and the meaningfulness that her work was to her. And that was all through the co-design process, working with her. So hopefully the students at the school also felt that level of connection and also increased some of those VBM moments for them. So next, which is the last part, is the conclusion and some implications that I found for my research. So one, the insights and implications, I found that having hands-on supported and committed mentors, teachers, or partners need to be involved for these students to take interest in the work that they're doing. I think without my support going to the school regularly, it would have been very challenging for the teacher I was working for to encourage that level of hands-on involvement. And so that's kind of necessary in any school setting, but especially if we want to encourage sustainability education, that's really important to have more hands-on involved members. Next, students are very excited by new things, new shiny things, and when these things are nurtured, they can actually become interests and hobbies. So I found that while working with the students, some of them they weren't very interested in sustainability or solar panels to begin with, but this can be by teaching them about something new, it can be a pivotal moment for them to realize that, hey, they might be interested in sustainability education and how can this co-design process help them out? And so that kind of goes to my first point about how there needs to be very involved mentors in order to encourage them to see that this is an interest for them that they want to take part in. And last but not least, consistent attendance and participation is key for students to assume responsibility or ownership of these projects. I think that the consistency is very important in an educational setting, especially when learning about something new like sustainability or energy transitions. And so, by either keeping a consistent schedule or having students take ownership of a certain project or watering the garden every week is really important for the students to realize that their work is important to them and real. And so here are some of my future recommendations. I really think encouraging more demonstrations that showcase real work is important, like showing them how an agrivoltaics battery operates from getting the solar panel. There's some kind of system that we use to plug into the solar panel to see how much energy is being generated. And so trying to do more hands-on demonstrations is really important for students to realize that, make that connection. Also, providing students with food or other edible incentives. I know some classrooms don't involve food, but having that as an incentive is really important, not only to trying to get them involved, but also to show the farm to table representation we also, as I said before, we harvested some of the plants. So if maybe we were able to create like a cooking class out of it and show them how to use the plants that we grew from the garden, that would be important to see, hey, this is actually really important. How can I connect this to my personal life? And another future recommendation is planning out a calendar of events or workshops for consistency and also for to make them more excited about the things we're doing in the garden. Like I said before, consistency is very important in an educational setting. And then last but not least, increasing the visibility of the students' work to their classmates in the school can really increase their believability in themselves and what they're doing, and also it's just important to show their classmates what the students are working on in other classes, and I think this really helps them take pride in their own learning as well. And last but not least, some additional questions I wanted to ask. One, how can teachers more effectively co-design educational materials to where it is both informative and generates curiosity? Obviously, this kind of falls on the teacher's responsibility to create these things, but maybe if there was some further support where teachers could have some way that they could co-design these educational materials with someone else or with the students, but having this as like maybe a next step. To what extent does previous learning opportunities and networks of support influence action? So I came to this question because the student I'm working with, Lila, her older brother actually worked with agrivoltaics, and so it was easier for her to get involved. And that's why I'm just kind of curious what kind of background is needed in order to encourage students to be more involved in sustainability learning. And then last but not least, what actions can the community take to encourage intergenerational learning and collaboration? So this is very important because as I noticed, a lot of the students, they didn't interact with members of the community, or they kind of, after school, they just kind of went home and talked to their parents. And so how can the community create more events to encourage this intergenerational collaboration? So those were some questions I had. Last but not least, I wanted to give some acknowledgments to Dr. Michelle Jordan and Dr. Janet Goebel. They were my honors thesis director and co-director, and then of course other members of the SPV Lab for supporting my research, along with my collaboration with VH Lassen, the elementary school. And then also big thanks to NSF. This would not be possible without the support from the National Science Foundation, and they were able to support SPV Lab and everything that we do. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys appreciated the presentation, and if you guys have any questions, please let me know.